Welcome to Build Strong Habits podcast channel. Sit back, relax, take your eyes off the screen, and listen. Just listen to this audio podcast, and let's start building habits that transform our life.
All right, let's dive into the mind of Patrick Bateman, the protagonist of American Psycho, that Bret Easton Ellis novel.
Yeah, he's a fascinating character, more than just a character, actually. He embodies all those excesses, and the anxieties of 80s America, that whole greed is good era.
It's like picture Manhattan in the 80s. Power lunches, designer suits, everyone's chasing wealth.
And Bateman is right there, right in the thick of it. Successful investment banker, seems like he's got it all. But the book, when it came out in 91, it really shook people up. I mean, the violence, the social commentary, Ellis didn't hold back.
No, he didn't.
Yeah.
And Bateman himself is kind of a walking contradiction. He even says at one point, there is an idea of a Patrick Bateman, but it's not real. Almost like he knows he's hollow inside.
Right. It's like he's aware of his own emptiness. And that's key to understanding him. He's obsessed with appearances, clothes, his body, even those business cards.
A facade.
Exactly, a facade, a mask for this profound lack of identity.
So it's deeper than just the violence. It's about what that represents, this void he's trying to fill. With everything, it seems like.
Yeah. His world is all surface, no depth. And the people around him, they're just as bad. Just as shallow and obsessed with image.
Which probably makes that alienation even worse.
Absolutely. It feeds into that whole unsettling duality of his life.
Right. By day, he's the Wall Street guy. All ambition and sharp suits.
Then by night, it's like this switch flips, this psychopath emerges, and you're left wondering what causes that transformation.
Yeah, is it a reaction to that emptiness? That consumerist world he's in? Trying to feel something.
It's a huge question that Ellis is getting at. And then there's the way Bateman tells the story. It's unreliable. You're never quite sure what's real.
There's that scene, right?
Yeah.
Where he's committing this horrific act, but he's staring at his reflection while he's doing it.
God, that scene is so disturbing.
Yeah.
But so powerful. It's like he's detached, Like it's all a performance. And it just reinforces that disconnect between who he pretends to be and what's going on inside him.
Which takes us to that big question, the one that makes the book so unsettling. What's real? What's in his head? Even Bateman seems unsure, which makes it even more terrifying.
And I think it makes us question ourselves. Are we all performing roles? Building identities based on what other people think?
It's a scary thought. And it's what makes American Psycho feel so relevant even now. We're still dealing with the same things. That pull of materialism, the pressure to conform, the danger of losing ourselves in the pursuit of success.
Yeah, it's like a cautionary tale. Bateman shows us what happens when image becomes everything, when genuine connection gets lost. He's a product of that culture, that 80s culture. And his violence, it reflects how empty that culture really was. And it's terrifying how, no one even notices his violence. It just fades into the background. It's like...
Yeah, normal.
Yeah, almost. Everyone's so focused on themselves, their own status, they're blind to it.
He could confess to murder and they'd just think it was a bad joke.
Exactly. Like some tasteless attempt to get attention.
It's like the culture itself is enabling him. They're all obsessed with appearances, so they miss the real stuff.
Yeah.
The connections, the human part.
Right, and that makes the violence even more disturbing, right? Because it's this unseen force. It's there, but no one acknowledges it.
He's almost like a ghost. He can do these awful things and get away with it.
Yeah. And it makes you think about society, how we can become desensitized to others. We get so caught up in our own lives, we don't even see the suffering around us.
It's like a culture of apathy almost. Obsessed with achievement, material stuff.
Right, and it makes you question yourself, Are we part of the problem, so focused on getting ahead that we step on people without even realizing it?
It's a tough question, but an important one. American Psycho, even though it's fiction, it holds up this mirror. It makes us think about our own role in all this.
Yeah, and it goes back to that emptiness we were talking about. Bateman is a warning. He shows us what happens when you chase wealth and status, but there's no purpose there, no real connection.
He's trying to fill this hole with stuff, but it's never enough. The more he gets, the worse it seems to get.
And it comes out in these really destructive ways, like the violence. It's a powerful message about how important empathy and compassion are, right? Those are the things that give life meaning, not the stuff.
It's the relationships, the impact we have. That's where real fulfillment comes from, not the things you own.
Totally. And it also makes you think about conformity, right? Losing yourself in the pressure to fit in.
Think about his friends, all those guys.
No.
Same suits, haircuts, same empty conversations. They're all playing a part. scared to be themselves.
It all comes back to that quote, there is an idea of a Patrick Bateman, but it's not real. That feeling, it's something a lot of people experience, I think.
Yeah.
That pressure to conform, to be who you're supposed to be, even if it means losing yourself.
We're constantly bombarded with messages about who to be, what to wear, how to act. It's easy to lose sight of your own values in all that noise.
And that's the struggle, right? How do we navigate this world and not end up like Bateman? How do we find meaning when everything around us seems so superficial?
That's a big question, no easy answers.
Uh-huh.
But maybe by looking at the darkness, at what Bateman represents, we can start to find our way to something better.
Yeah. Maybe an American Psycho is a wake-up call. Like, look at your life. Make choices that mean something. Choose empathy, real connections. Resist that pressure to conform to things that don't matter.
And never lose sight of who you are, your humanity, even when the world seems to be pushing you in the opposite direction.
Yeah. It's a powerful message, even all these years later. American Psycho isn't just about some psychopath. It's about all of us. It's about the choices we make and the world we build together.
It makes us ask those hard questions. Who are we? What do we stand for? What kind of world do we want to live in?
And those are questions worth thinking about. Hopefully this deep dive, even though it's been, a bit disturbing, it's made you think about those things.
Definitely. It forces us to see those dark parts, the things that are hidden under the surface.
But maybe by seeing those parts, by shining a light on them, we can understand them better and maybe work towards something better.
Okay, so we've talked about Bateman, his world, all those disturbing things he does, but now I want to zoom out a bit. Talk about some of the bigger ideas in American Psycho, the interpretations. This book has sparked so much debate since it came out.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And one of the big ones is toxic masculinity. Like, Bateman is this extreme example of that.
Right. He's so obsessed with his looks, his body, controlling others, especially women.
Exactly. And his violence. So often it's targeted at women. They're objects to him, possessions, things to be controlled.
It's pretty chilling. See that misogyny, those power imbalances? Ellis lays it all bare, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. And another big theme is this critique of consumer culture, that emptiness. Bateman and his whole circle, they're defined by what they own: clothes, restaurants, gadgets.
It's all about status. Who has the newest, the most expensive thing?
And their whole identity, it's built on that external validation, always chasing the next thing, but never really satisfied.
It's like that void can never be filled with stuff.
Right, and that emptiness, it fuels everything. It's at the root of all that darkness, the violence.
It makes you wonder, what's the cost of all that chasing? What do we lose along the way?
And it's still relevant, right? We're surrounded by advertising, that pressure to buy, buy, buy. American Psycho is like a warning about that, about how materialism can just leave you empty inside.
And then there's the whole debate about the violence in the book. Some people, they hated it, said it was just gratuitous, meant to shock.
Yeah, but others, they defended it. They said it was necessary to show the brutality of Bateman's world, to make people confront it.
It's a tough one. Art can be challenging, disturbing even. But sometimes we need to confront those uncomfortable things to really understand them.
I agree. And that's what makes American Psycho so powerful. It sticks with you. It makes you think.
It's chilling, yeah, and thought-provoking. You definitely don't forget it. It shows us this dark side of human nature. Reminds us that the monsters, sometimes they look just like us. That line between civilized and savage, it's thinner than we think.
And it leaves us with this question, doesn't it? Are we doing enough to confront the darkness in ourselves, in society? Are we paying attention, or are we helping create a world where someone like Patrick Bateman can exist?
It's a big question, and it's up to each of us to answer it. So that wraps up our deep dive into American Psycho. Hopefully you found it insightful, maybe a little challenging, even disturbing. But sometimes confronting those hard truths, that's how we create a better world. So until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, keep diving deep.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Build Strong Habits. Let us know in the comments how you feel about it and what topics you'd love to hear next. Always remember, we're here to build strong habits together.